All right. Welcome everybody to Silicon Zombies Brainwaves. That's right. We're coming to you here live from downtown Los Gatos. I almost said San Francisco. And super grateful to have Lutz here, Lutz Finger. We're going to be discussing a little bit about the future of artificial intelligence and all this crazy policy that's hitting us. Lutz, it was such a treat to have you on a few months back. Before we jump into that, just want to give a shout out. You're listening to Pirate Cat Radio. That's 92.9 FM in Los Gatos and 101.9 KMRT in Santa Cruz. So Brainwaves, we demystify emerging tech. That's at
Let's do it.
Yeah. So it's with delicious brains. Speaking of which, Lutz, maybe give us a little bit of background on yourself.
Okay, quickly told, I'm German, so my accent, you have to suffer through
Sounds
that now.
So cool.
Yeah, well, like a little bit authority, right? No, so I'm German.
That's good.
Yeah, well, look at you. Faculty at Cornell, I'm a visiting senior lecturer there. I worked at LinkedIn, Google, Snapchat before, and I have now my own company in this space.
We can learn a little bit more there too, and
maybe
a photojournalist in your past.
Oh yeah. Well, I was a Fulbright scholar in the U.S. I'm a physics guy. I actually studied quantum physicist.
That's right.
And then I got a scholarship from Fulbright to come to the U.S. and University of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Yeah, Tar Heels go.
Excellent.
But they are actually quantum physics wasn't that good, so I actually decided to take a year off and study photography.
Yeah,
I went like fun stories for a later time. I went across the country as an illegal passenger of trucks and did a photo story on truck drivers and Harley Davidson guys.
This is we're going to totally go down a different weird direction, but one of my favorite books is On the Road by Jack Kerouac.
That's awesome.
And when you mentioned that to me, it reminded me of like him just totally checking out and taking on like weird jobs and meeting unique people and writing about it, just being in the now, being in the moment. Speaking of which, Jack Kerouac has written his on his typewriter while drinking at the Black Cat. It's just like a couple blocks down.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. So a lot of rich history in Los Gatos, California. Well, Lutz, it's been a really pretty strange week or two. It's been a strange couple months. Maybe set the table for us. What did you cover when you were on the AI in the U with Jahad and the rest of the folks? You guys became best friends that day.
Well, I mean, there was such an amazing discussion, and shout out to the EU. We had a very lively discussion, and for the ones who haven't listened to it, I'm pretty sure you can put a link into the show notes to actually get us there. A lively discussion about how to balance innovation and regulation, right? And if you think about regulating, you always should think about that AI as a tool that has three groups it can help. It can help the citizens, and we have seen a lot of discussion about how do we protect citizens from harm. There's the industry, there are the companies, and they have IP, and you need to protect those and help them thrive. And we have obviously nation states. And over the last few weeks, we have seen a huge back and forth about all those three constituents and what this means.
Yeah, and it seems to be the news cycles seem to be speeding up. Elon just tried to buy OpenAI for $100 billion. I don't know. Was he just trying to slow the roll of these guys, or was it a legitimate offer? Do you think?
I mean, I personally think it's not it's a legitimate offer. Yeah, totally, but probably not for the reason that you might think.
It's a loaded gun, not meant to be fired.
So first of all, OpenAI in their current setup, they are an organization for good. They are an NGO. So and their governance structure is so that Elon can't buy them. It's pretty simple. Doesn't work. That's cool. However, OpenAI needs a lot of money, and we can go into this. Like, in order for them to be successful, they need more access to customers, more access to data. They need to build out services. They need to make sure that their models get applied. In order to do this, they need funding, and they just raised fundraising. And investors normally want their money back. So essentially, they become a business, right? And if they're a business, that means they're not a non-profit anymore. So OpenAI is changing from being a non-profit to become a for-profit. And that's nothing unusual. It has happened before.
It is kind of unusual.
No,
just push back, because I feel like, there's a bunch of different kinds of innovation that a startup can introduce. Legal framework introduction or innovation just sounds messy to me. Just focus on making the product better. Don't try to hide the cheese by creating a structure and where you're going to change it later and it gets sticky.
Yeah, I think there was a mistake in how this is, how Sam Altman had envisioned it, probably, but it is not unseen that you go from a non-profit to a profit, and you split those up and you make this clean. That's what Sam Altman tries to do and now the question is, in that entity, what's the value for the non-profit side versus the profit side? By Elon Musk coming and put a price tag on the non-profit side, he makes the fundraising deal for Sam Altman actually not very good looking. That's all what it is. He's pooping the party.
Because I know Sam's trying to raise $40 billion right now, and he's doing it at like a $300 billion valuation. So do you think Elon's trying to throw
a wrench in it?
That's
totally.
Exactly
totally.
Wow.
So it is.
It's a power move.
It's a power move in order to make it harder for him. Now, why would Elon do this? Well, probably there is some pettiness involved in terms of his approach. However, we also have to see that, Elon has launched the chatbot called Grok. He has launched XAI. And you're looking exactly, most people look at what are those? Yes, they haven't.
I know what both of those are. My quizzical look, Lutz, was because I'm thinking maybe he was trying to offer $100 billion for ChatGPT because maybe Grok isn't going as expected in the training rounds, or is that a possibility?
So Grok is a chatbot, and we can talk about the uselessness or the usefulness of chatbots. Well, we have a technology and we're trying to replace ourselves, and then we are scared about replacing ourselves, and all of this is, yes, sorry, my language, and we can go into this.
Yeah.
But so let's park the chatbot thing because we can go there.
Sure,
but the whole point is Grok hasn't gone anywhere close to what the potential or the hope was.
Yeah.
But more concerning, XAI, that's essentially the OpenAI clone. And you haven't heard about stuff. You have heard about Mistral, you have heard about Anthropic, you have heard about DeepSeek, obviously. But XAI didn't go far. So one of the big model efforts for Musk didn't play out. So you could argue, in my opinion, it's wrong, but you could argue that he's doing it to catch up. As much as he kind of called the ethical concerning card of, oh my God, this is all too dangerous, we should do a pause, in brackets, as some people said, in order to catch up for him.
Oh, interesting.
But all of this very calmed down since he got the direct line to the president. By the way, you have a red telephone here, just on the desk. Is it getting us to Trump?
That goes straight to the man himself.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Let's call him in later on.
That's true. President Trump, if you're listening, you want to dial in, or anybody else, it's 408-357-0330. And thanks for pointing that out. That's good stuff. We'll leave the line open for you. So Lutz, let's zoom out a little bit. You're pretty bullish on AI innovation for a European. Do you kind of think yourself as more of a European, or with American sensibilities, or how do you view yourself? as a futurist?
I'm so European, right? I mean, I have a U.S. passport, but I'm born and raised in Berlin, so
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
definitely European. I wouldn't say that Europe is not bullish. Like I see many people in Europe who are bullish. Europe hasn't produced the amount of business applications. However, they have
funding.
funding, but they have produced the amount, like a huge amount of papers and knowledge. So Europe is actually pretty strong in the creation of knowledge. So this is where we should give a shout out to Gerard from our last discussion.
Yeah.
Do not discount Europe. Now, at the moment, obviously, and I made this joke last weekend. I was at a conference and I said, okay, let's take the top 10 companies that work with AI in the US. Take the enterprise of those. And now let's take the top 10 European companies that work with AI. And let's norm the top 10 US one at my height. I'm 6'4". How tall do you think are the European ones?
God, maybe like a little figurine, I would have to guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
4 inch.
Okay.
4 inch, guys, and like for the listeners, this is so much here, right?
Yeah.
You see, this is a little bit bigger than the microphone. Now, if I stand up, that's dwarfing it. So if you think about funding and possibilities to build up, the US is way better.
Sure. Well, just this morning, I saw Vance, who was at the Paris Accords.
Yes, he was there. Yeah.
And I'd love your take on this. He said that roughly $700 billion is going to be spent on AI, invested in artificial intelligence this year, and the U.S. will likely get half of it. So, I mean, from your perspective, what kinds of shifts need to change in order for Europe to get back in the race with China and the U.S.?
So Ursula von der Leyen announced 200 billion. President Macron announced 112 billion or so. And I scratched my head and thinking like, hey, hold on, France had a problem to bring their budget through their parliament, and where does he suddenly get this money? Like somewhere, yeah, right. But note that money in itself doesn't solve the problem, right? And if you look at the Stargate announcement in the White House, where Sam Altman, Musk wasn't there, Sam Altman together with SoftBank announced the 500 billion. And if listeners, this is like numbers, right? Like let's count everything which Ursula von der Leyen and Macron put together. This is 300 billion. And then we have just one announcement of a private company, like a private consortium in the US, it's 500 billion. So again, an unequal setup, but it's not only about money. It is, how do you spend the money? What is the ambition level to set with the money? And I think we are a little bit mistaken to kind of think, oh, we need to put this all in research, or we need to put this all into models, because what we actually have seen with DeepSeek is like models are like fast to build. There's an open source community. So 500 billion invest today might be 50 billion worth tomorrow if the decline on compute cost and return on software goes on like this.
So let's talk a little bit about some of these terms, because you mentioned fine tuning. You give us the example that you gave me about 5 minutes ago, right before we went live, where you said, "Oh, well, this is like a reinforcement learning and convolutional neural networks, and how this all plays out."
Yes. So let's start very simple. A neural network is actually not something very complicated. So what I didn't say in my intro, I said I am faculty, but I just recently launched an online certificate for eCornell. It's open for everybody. It's meant for people like you and me. You do not need to code, because I essentially replicate myself. I built a virtual Lutz and Lutz AI that codes for you, that helps you to support you along, and has all the discussions with you. Like you do have to listen to 100 hours of real Lutz, but then you get a nice certificate. These are 5 courses. And
sign me up.
Yeah, like here we go. It's called, like it said, like if you look for my name, Lutz Finger at eCornell, you will find the course. Designing and building AI solutions. But in there, I discuss what are neural networks. Sounds completely complicated, but it ain't. A neural network is a bunch of linear function in an activation function. That sounds complicated. Make it even simpler. You know what a logistic regression is? You have heard this in your high school. We stuck many logistic regression on top of each other, something like a logistic regression, and that we call a neural network. So instead of having one logistic regression to train, we train billions of it. And the neat thing is that you have those layers in between, and those layers in between in the network, they learn things. So and it's not something which just hit the market. This is around since a while. And the first thing which we saw is that we have the ability to use those networks to identify images. Now, if we identify an image, then the network, we can see how the network learns. The network looks at many images. You said, that's a cat. Network says, okay.
Is that like a logic trace or a reason trace to show how you get there?
No logic. So you show, and by the way, a reasoning. Let's try and like I put you now on the spot.
Yeah, please.
Explain to the listeners, if they have never seen a cat, how does a cat look like? You've seen a cat, right?
I've seen many cats. Can I make an assimilation to something similar, like perhaps a smaller tiger? Or
no, you can't. You have to describe it so that I actually can see it and understand it. I don't know what a smaller tiger is.
So, okay. Well, I suppose it's kind of like the famous story about, you got the 5 blind guys in a room with an elephant, and they're all experiencing differently.
Yeah.
From the trunk to the tail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you say 4 legs, I say it's a dog. If you say like a furry, then I kind of say it's a fox. I mean,
yeah. Or maybe someone from San Francisco.
Wow, you said that. I didn't. But the point is, the paradox is, we know more than we can actually explain. You fail here to explain what a cat is.
Yeah.
The only way for me to learn what a cat is you show me a cat.
Yeah.
Right? I experience a cat. So we build neural networks in a way that explains what is a cat. So the network now learns it, and now we can, because we have all those stacked logistic regression, I mean, this is it. This is totally simple. Each of those neurons is a mathematical equation, and the mathematical equation that we learned in high school, okay? Yeah. So now we can look at it and see how that network learns what is a cat. And it learns first shapes, colors, structure, and the further you go down, the deeper you go into the network, the more complicated things it learns. That's it.
I'm fascinated by abstracting these ideas and maybe learning about how like the mycelium in mushrooms grow, or like the underground roots that are connected in a forest, and then maybe trying to reproduce that in a lab somehow. I think this is kind of like this intersection is just a pretty fascinating space.
We can talk about mushrooms, and taking mushrooms is the same thing than retraining a network, and we can do this like this.
It's like neurogenesis.
It's kind of like so we train a network, and we train it by showing things. Now, if we show them, and showing things could be really showing them the network a cat, or like training it with trainings data. And if we show them the wrong trainings data, right, then the network would learn the wrong things. That's what we then call bias.
It'll tell us that that is not the thing, and we can reward it for being correct.
No, AI is not that intelligent. It just will tell us what we trained it for.
You're saying that there's no reinforcement learning with AI?
Well, that is one way to train it over time. But if we reinforce it to the wrong thing, it's like we are reinforcing the wrong behavior. The network, like us humans, by the way, learn the wrong thing. So then if we want to correct that behavior, then we have to selectively correct the neural network. And that is nothing else than taking mushrooms, right? So you selectively, I'm not a doctor, and I haven't done those.
This is financial advice for anybody.
This is not medical advice, and you should not take mushrooms. But
Dr. Lutz on the mic. Go ahead, doctor.
No, but I'm like, the total idea is to release parts of your neural network and retrain it. And this is how we train quickly. Now, meaning if I can get a neural network trained on shapes and forms and images and colors, the only thing I haven't trained it on is my cat and my dog. So all what I do is I peel back 2 layers of my network and retrain it. It goes pretty quickly without a lot of data. That's what we call fine-tuning or retraining. Now, if you do that, the value is actually in the first few layers is common sense or common knowledge. And if you think about common knowledge, how do you protect common knowledge? If I show you yet another cat, you will say, it's a cat, duh. And how much can I charge you for this? Nothing. Right? So, okay, it's a cat. Thank you so much, Nick. So now let's go back to today's world. All the people who built now large language models have managed to create the knowledge of how we humans talk. Okay. And now I give you the network, and now it talks like a human. It's like, yeah, I have heard humans talking before, especially you. So it's not a big deal anymore.
Yes, it's strange to me that we seem to be keeping to move the goalpost on what general intelligence is. Gates had told Sam a while back, they said, well, when your model can take the bar exam and pass it over 80% or something like that, then you will have achieved a sufficient bar to build the law. And now, I mean, that was years ago.
Okay,
like 5-6 years ago.
Let's put here a clear notion down. All the stuff we hear about general intelligence or AGI, artificial general intelligence, is slightly overblown by business thoughts, and we can go into this. But I do, and many other in the research field do not yet see AGI being very close. We have a saying in research where we're saying AI is everything that has not been built.
Ooh.
Because think about
I like that.
Yeah, like you tonight you go to Netflix and you switch it on, and Netflix, and then you click on your little Nick icon, and suddenly Netflix shows you all the movies you really want to watch. And
something embarrassing.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, like some of them might be that your wife wouldn't have known that you want to watch it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's general intelligence? No, this is just collaborative filtering. I explained to you, people like me have watched this. So what's the big deal? It was a big deal as it first came out. Now we're saying we understand how this works.
So does that mean that AI will never really be achievable? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
because that's it's kind of a vague and broad definition.
It's a vague and broad definition. And Sam Altman, actually, who uses AGI for marketing sway, actually has moved the goalpost for his AGI as well. And like one of the early, like a month ago or so, he made an interview and he said, well, AGI will be here soon and it will be way less than we kind of expected. Meaning what he I think he alluded to is, look, I know now how we can make models to challenge themselves and go into an iterative loop and reason.
Yeah.
And let's call this now AGI, which is not necessarily the idea of AGI. AGI really means that it can set a plan independently in all of those potential scenarios which our world has, and our world is complex, and then act on this.
See, I'm more curious, and I think society at large is as well, Lutz. It's when is it going to have a meaningful impact on our day-to-day life?
I mean, like, come on, you can go, if you are on my course from Cornell, you can talk to me all day long.
Yeah.
After this interview, you don't want to do this anymore. But like the question is, how much meaningfulness do you get? No, I just repeat what you could have written or read, or like I write a lot.
Yeah.
Like if you go to my Forbes page, okay, now you get to summarize.
A Forbes contributor as well. So let's talk about this a little bit. if distillation is the process of these foundational models providing information to these agents, how come the agents are seen as the experts? Wouldn't it be kind of something, or what's the relationship between these two?
Actually, before we go down to agents, let's stop on distillation, right? Distillation is a task we do. And, if you think about how universities or schools evolved, there was a time where we had to memorize things. Like a good friend of mine just recently spoke in one of my classes, and he said, I was a better doctor than my colleague if I could memorize 7 courses for a disease while he or she could only memorize 5. So there was memorization. Then the internet came and data was freely available, and it was more trying to summarize the information. And now we have a tool that does summarization for us. That doesn't mean we have the right weights.
So what makes a better doctor now? Is it the creative element, or being able to pull abstract ideas and coalesce them?
Probably to a better doctor, like, okay, now this is on the medical field, a better doctor is probably the one who has more empathy.
Oh, yeah.
I actually tried to build a nurse in your pocket using AI, and I had this very, very nice AI nurse.
Yeah.
But I realized that it's not about reasoning, it's not about summarization, it's about empathy.
Yeah.
And like people might have said, we could have told you. But the key moment here in one of the research which we did in my startup is we built something to help people to get away from diabetes. And one of the people we talked to, it was a she said, like, look, I'm pre-diabetic, I still eat my donut in the morning, and now leave me alone, right? So the idea is me explaining, or an AI explaining this isn't necessarily helpful. So what should a doctor do? Empathy. What should a human do? Empathy. So we need to focus more on this, and this is good for us. This will change a lot of our healthcare, and it will change a lot of our human interaction. So I give you another example where summarization in itself doesn't work. So as I created the course, there is, I go through many different industries, and in every industry, I talk about bias and risks. And I obviously used ChatGPT, and I used my own clone to create the course. But the answers were so lame. They were so plain vanilla. They were middle of the road. And why are they middle of the road? Because, and I give you an example, life is like a box of
chocolates.
Like, you are such a brainwashed child, right? Why chocolate?
Well, because, we got Forrest Gump in the mix.
Forrest Gump, yes. Like a blockbuster movie for Americans. Like, ask the same question somewhere in a country that didn't watch.
So you're saying it's all contextual.
I mean, yes. Like, look at it. Like, why should life be a box full of chocolates? Why can't it be a box full of surprises?
Yeah.
Or like unexpected ideas, or whatever it is, or
Sure.
luck, or happiness. This is a contextual average. So if you have a summarization model, you get average, but we humans never really wanted average.
So, okay, well, I want to get into that a little bit further, but real quickly, I think it's interesting that 6 months ago, the prevailing wisdom, Lutz, was that these wrappers
Yes.
that people were creating outside of these foundational models had like little to no actual value. Now it looks as if the value is collapsing in these foundational models because they're being open sourced. There's platforms like Hugging Space that are driving aggregation of new ideas and models and algorithms and data sets. Why do you think that the wrapper now is maybe where the actual utility will be?
Because it's all about the application. When I say I don't see AGI around the corner, we might get there, but this is not what I see currently. Then the question is, how do we make money with those models? How do we bring a model to work? And we bring a model to work if it actually supplies tangible value. And tangible value is nothing abstract. It is, if you hire somebody for this podcast show, You want that person to deliver value. You have a certain aim, and that is what they need to do.
Well,
and this is what agents do.
Let's look at the innovations. Just real quickly, since we're at the top or half hour, you're listening to Pirate Cat Radio. That's 92.9 FM in Los Gatos. That's KPCR, and then KMRT 101.9 FM in Santa Cruz. Brainwaves on Pirate Cat Radio. So Lutz, getting back to it, if the idea is that the utility exists in the wrappers, is this kind of where you're playing now in the e-commerce space, or help us understand?
So let's define wrapper. At the moment, we have
MC
this.
Hammer,
Yeah, so wrapper could be that, but wrapper in the sense for AI models is you can do amazing things with OpenAI or ChatGPT, and it looks good. And the wrapper is you just put a nice interface and now saying, look, at now I have a page. Like I put a wrapper around an LLM and called this wrapper, this is now a copy from Lutz. I informed the LLM about my knowledge. I put a wrapper around it, and now my students can interact. That's a wrapper.
11 Labs, or
I used 11 Labs for my. I'm in order to make this course fun. I actually cloned Kenneth Cookier. He is one of the economists, like from The Economist in London. He is an amazing guy. He has a very good voice. So I asked him, may I clone you? And he allowed me to clone you. So I cloned his voice with 11 Labs.
It's a good thing you didn't ask Scarlett Johansson.
Well, I didn't know anybody, but I Scarlett, like, what was the number again? Like, there's a red phone.
Scarlett,
like, it's
408 555. No.
At the moment, it's occupied with Donald Trump. But once he's off the phone, Scarlett, please call me for my next gig. No, but okay. So a wrapper is essentially how do you put the model together? Now everybody gets so excited about generative AI, but honestly, most of our world is working already on AI. If a generative AI means I create something, if I have a model that can identify a cat, then I turn the model around and say, dear model, imagine a cat. And this works the same thing with our brain. Dear listeners, let's do a quick test here. You all know what a cat is. Now close your eyes and imagine a cat. And yes, do you see it? That's it. Your brain just created a cat, and that cat you saw is probably not real. It might be, if you're a cat owner, you might be having something very similar at home, but it is not real what you just imagined. So that is generative AI. Now the fact, and I would claim that most of our business actually needs more a model to identify something than to imagine something. Now,
so if the query we think is X, and X historically has a parameter of all of these different elements, then there's the likelihood that it is this thing.
Yes. So I give you both directions.
And then
let's do this for the e-commerce. Yes, I can do it e-commerce. So normal AI is you get an ad or you get an email, and that is targeted. We use AI for this. We're trying to say, okay, what type of shopper is that person? What, like with all the traces you left, Nick, on the internet, what do you really want to buy? And now I make a prediction, and that's traditional AI. Generative AI is that I'm trying not only to make a prediction of that you want to buy this, but I actually put the thing you want to buy in the picture or the frame or the setting which is most likely. Now, these are the models. Now, down to agents. What are agents doing? Agents taking one model at a time, sometimes traditional models, sometimes generative models, and do steps as much as an employee in your company would do steps. And that is the agent idea. Now, so for e-commerce, like what I do is I realize that people target the ads, they personalize emails, all in order to reach customers. What is not personalized is the interface. So my company are to decide, we are actually building this interface in order to make a personalized interface for every web shop, for every company. Now, how does this work? Well, you come on, and I have now agents. I have an agent that helps you search. I have an agent that advises you on advises you on what to buy.
Does
so
this create an extra workload for the end user, or is it just kind of happening?
No, that is the important part. What do you think when you talk to your Google Home and you set a timer and Google said, and the timer starts now? What do you think?
I think that I sent a signal, it received it, and then executed a command.
Wow, come on. No, I think like you just stole 3 seconds of my life with that. I don't get back. Like what the heck?
Like just no.
Just do it.
I see.
Right?
Yeah, and take mud off the racetrack.
So Reid Hoffman started a chatbot company, and we wanted to come back to chatbots, and Elon Musk started a chatbot company, and they have different personalities and they're very chatty. And initially you kind of think, oh wow, this is a fun person to hang out with. After 10 minutes, you're just like, dude, can you just be to the point? Don't check me up, down. Like if I ask, what's the latest policy in Europe on AI? And like, man, that's such a good question. Let me tell you about it. You're spot on. Yeah. I mean, no. Tell me, right? Yeah. This is human stuff. I want to be emotional. I want to have empathy. I want to talk to you. I don't like the chat bot needs to deliver.
It needs to read what the audience wants, just like we do.
So very important for my company, and we did this with a lot of user testing, became it has to be in the flow. So Perplexity recently came out and said we will help people to shop. So if you go online and you type something in, then it tries to become the new Google, right? It tries to put you, instead of 20 blue links, it kind of like places products in the stream, and Perplexity hopes to make money with it. And we are working for the shops. And I realized that's not the right thing to do. So if you go to our shops, you don't necessarily realize that there is an AI agent in the background guiding you. If you search for something, my search is just better. I mean, I normally deliver 11% more revenue to my customers only from search. But on top of it, I give those small little nuggets. If you look, for example, you look for a helmet, like let's say you're like a biker, you're motorbiking, and you look for a helmet for somebody who has glasses. Then I show you the helmets that are for people who have glasses. But I have explained to you as well, what are the features you need to look out for in a helmet. So I give you this small little advice because I know that's what you want. I don't say, oh, poor you, you're getting old, you're wearing glasses, right? Well, but still I give you a helmet. No, this is too chatty. I just give you.
And you're able to, that seems like a pretty clever approach. And you're able to obviously measure like A versus B, like the ROI analysis. The gentleman that I mentioned before the show, Cesare, who runs Cinerize, they've got I think a similar philosophy where it's dynamically showing you products that you're more likely to convert on. So like, for example, they've got Nike as a customer, and it's impressive, right? It's kind of a similar philosophy. But how can you know what the customer wants before you? Is that like
they search for it? They go on and they type in something and search.
But you're assuming like there's some kind of trail of cookies, right?
No, like I can use those, but more importantly, once I have them, this is very similar to how we humans would sell to somebody. You go into a shop and you say, let's say REI, you say, I need a sleeping bag. And then I'm looking at you and kind of trying to figure out what kind of backpacker is this guy?
Maybe you see me and think he's homeless. Right?
So I would suggest something, but then see your reaction. So that's what we do. We use traditional AI to actually understand targeting. We use generative AI to communicate small nuggets. So
you're not talking biometrics, are you?
No. No, not at all. Sleeping bags, I show you a couple of sleeping bags, but I will say something, oh, wow, it depends, Nick, where you're going and what temperature zone is it? And then you can say, where are you going? You say, I go to Bolivia. I'm saying, oh, Bolivia, if you go to the beach in Bolivia, you need a lightweight sleeping bag. And if you go to the mountains, it's actually pretty serious business. And I give you those opportunities to scan, like to be faster in your search. So what we actually see, and yes, we do testing and A/B testing, First of all, at the end, we see more revenue because we get people what they want faster. But we see more engagement. Our engagement rates go up through the roof because people is like, oh, wow, this is actually helpful content. Let me engage. And people are faster because they don't see 1,000 results. They can narrow it down faster. And returns are less because they shop with more confidence.
I see. So if you're, Lutz, let's say you're building your castle. First of all, what's the name of the company?
It's R2 decide.
R2 decide.
Like it comes from R square, R2,
okay.
and then decide
great.
for the decision.
Definitely go check that out. Lutz is building his castle, R2 decide, and maybe one of those modes is a unique data set, right? What kind of unique data are you capturing and can then perhaps monetize or continue to build the model in such a way that allows you to differentiate?
Good question. So the agent is the one who shows you something on the web page and then takes the information, you clicks and so on, and informs the other AIs. That's the agentic behavior which we have built out. And we're doing this on the fly so that the web page becomes a dynamic experience. Every customer gets a different experience. So that's what we do. Now, how do we build up a moat? Well, if somebody buys, we probably gave the right information, right? You learn about a cat by seeing a cat. Hey, mama, look, this is a cat.
You learn not to touch the stove when it's hot.
And I learn, like you talk about sleeping bags, I show you sleeping bags and I have a discussion about where you're going, sells better than me giving you sleeping bags and saying I have 5 different brands, which is the huge difference because when you go normally on a website, you have only filters. And this is like, for me, this in my journey, this was amazing. In 1999, Amazon 1999 and Amazon 2025 looks exactly the same. It's a little bit more colors and bigger pictures because we have more bandwidth. But the way we shop hasn't changed. It's filters and search.
So maybe that's classic innovator's dilemma, similar to Google struggling with.
So we are going to change that. But we are going to change this to generative AI and agents.
So our listeners love good stories. Also, you're a world-class storyteller. So thank you for the energy. What was the aha moment that you had when you realized that you needed to implement this? Was this a personal frustration of yours, or was it a Tell us about the breakthrough. Hey, that's pretty cool.
That was the aha moment. Yes. I probably should have now the story that from my childhood on, I really hated web pages, and now this is kind of like my aha, like I'm going to revolutionize the world. No, the aha moment is actually different. The aha moment is, look, I worked for Google Health. I then went to a company to predict preventable health diseases, and I had now a prediction to prevent diseases, and I built up a system that we had doctors actually delivering better care. All of this worked if it weren't for the humans, because the humans,
darn humans,
darn humans, and that's the reason why I'm so much like cautioning regulation, because we shouldn't regulate the AI, we should regulate more humans, which we call laws. So I realized that humans need convincing. So my aim was, I built this nurse in the pocket, as I said, right? Similar as in my course, I built Lutz in a pocket. I build a nurse in the pocket, and I realized it's probably not what people necessarily need. So now I had this beautiful tool. I was like, where do people need information? Well, if they shop, they need the right information, and they don't need, and this is the difference to why I don't believe Perplexity is going to do a big hit, because they supply too much information. If I want to buy something, I don't want to read a whole page. I want to have the pieces of information.
You did. That's an interesting take. However, I'm going to push back on something you mentioned earlier, which is research for its own sake. Okay, let me back up a little bit. Ilya Sutskever just raised a bunch of money, and his whole focus is safe super intelligence. I think the company is even called SSI. So if they're able to raise a hellacious amount of money just based on him as a technologist, and say, you know what, we're not going to get distracted with business models. I think that there's maybe something to that, because there can be more of like a foundational leap in the innovation, where you're not necessarily worried about the specific application. You're just going to build something that's fundamentally stronger, better, faster, smarter, and then as kind of assume that the chips will fall into play from the business model. Is this kind of a weird way to build a company? If you're not Ilya Sutskever?
No, I mean, we had this before. You remember the tulips in the Netherlands? Like, everybody invested in tulips in the Netherlands. It was a huge thing till they realized it's tulips.
Yeah.
So I'm losing my audience here.
No. We got Brian. We got a special guest, Brian. Come on in.
I thought Donald Trump is coming. Like you said, hey, good seeing you.
Hey, man.
From the party?
Yeah, hop
on. No, it's not a weird way of building it.
Yeah.
It is, what he says is, I build a foundational model. And when everybody uses foundational models, I hopefully created enough moat. Now, the whole disaster which we saw with DeepMind was that having a foundational model in itself is not necessarily the protection for the market.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think that he can build super intelligence and protect it. And I think we don't change business dynamics overall. Yeah. Or put it differently, if you are today an engineer, where should I plug this in?
3 or 4 actually, or 3. Put it in
3. I put it in 3. So get you connected here.
Brian, can you hear us okay?
Can you hear us?
Yes.
No, you can. Then I put you in the 1 down.
How about now?
No, then I put it out. Now I put it in 4.
Okay. Can you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Hot mic. Yeah.
Hot mic. Yeah.
Nice.
So, business. Yeah. Here we go. Come on, give me a high five.
I'm in the child seat right here. I feel like I'm in the bucket.
This is good stuff. You were saying?
Yes. So, business dynamics is not changing because we create a model necessarily. Markets are changing, products are changing, but there is still value to be created, and that hasn't like people buy stuff, sell stuff, give value. That dynamic won't change. So he needs to ask himself, what is he selling, and how is he protecting what he's selling?
The thing that I really dig about that is, if you look at the companies that have made consistent strides over many years, it's because they're focused on a core concept, not a technology, not a product. Like AT&T is a perfect example of that. So maybe you're saying Ilya is going to be focused on this core concept of safe super intelligence, and that's why he's going to be. Are you bullish or are you bearish on what Ilya is doing?
I don't know the details. So I'm, as I said, I'm personally don't think that we are close to AGI, and if we're not close to AGI, then we won't be close to super intelligence, which would be the next level. Let's actually define those. AGI means it is like us humans. They're so general that they can do everything a human can do. Super intelligence means it's so much smarter that we humans have the intelligence of an ant.
So I want to pull Brian in here. Brian, so you get to talk to all sorts of brilliant founders and technologists, Brian Sparks. So what do you think? Is AGI around the corner? Are we maybe 1 or 2 big leaps away? What are your thoughts?
Well, this is so far out of my wheelhouse, but thanks for letting me crash your party. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys are into the thick of it, but I don't know. I'm still a student of the game, so I really can't make a call right off the top of my head and sound intelligently.
I have seen like people who have a lot of good knowledge can go around and raise insane amount of funding because they make claims what they're going to develop.
So their cost of capital is like 0.
For them. Like, not for me, but for them, it becomes way easier to raise.
Well, I mean, you're a Fulbright scholar and ex-Google. I mean, obviously a very brilliant guy in
I
this
closed
space.
my angel round. This is all working.
Where's
but,
we need an applause button. Like.
Yes. But the main point here is whatever you build, you need at some point in time you need to return capital to your shareholders.
Yeah.
So Amazon had a very big vision and said in order to build this, we are going to lose a lot of money. And then we had the bubble where everybody says, "Oh, losing money, we can do this. Let me get $1 of venture funding and sell it for 50 cents. Wow!" And people take my dollar for 50 cents, right? It didn't play quite out like this.
Do you think it's kind of like that's more of a Ponzi scheme? Like there needs to be somebody else to buy.
Yeah, like you have to have like fundamentals. You have to have people to give you something of value. This is nothing to do with AI.
So
that's a fundamental law which we're seeing in business.
Yeah, like
and
science versus the business model. But what do you do if you're Sam Altman right now? If
Sam Altman is doing everything according to the books, and he's doing it well, and it has nothing to do with AI. So first, let me walk you through all the things he has done lately. I mean, like, it's stunning. Like, we should learn from him. He is doing such a good job.
Okay,
so,
this is a hot take. So
here, like, first of all, he said AGI is so terrible. First of all, he says AGI is around the corner, and Sam, I know how to build it. So pay me $200 a month for my system, because if AGI comes, you're the first to get it. So please come, dear customer. It's a marketing tech. Then secondly, he says, oh, by the way, this is so dangerous that I need government protection, that only a few should really be allowed to offer the service.
Yeah.
Again, market protection.
Mr. Miss Senator.
Yes. So, like, please do not allow anybody to develop the same service. And therefore protecting the market. Now people started to build, and he's like, okay, well then I actually go and make a clear statement that I have more money than anybody else. So he goes to the White House and debt finance says, Stargate, I have 500 billion. Do not try to compete with me. So he's doing everything in a very good business fashion in order to protect the company he is building up. And I have a lot of respect for that.
Well, don't you think that he may find himself on the wrong side of history as far as like the open source versus closed source? Like, I get the policy or the privacy element, but like everybody cannot, half the world cannot be or will be beaten by like a small few that is playing inside a walled garden.
Like if you look at Alex Karp, right, with Palantir. Palantir is, what is it? It's a dashboarding application. It's something like Tableau, but only slicker. So it's like initially.
Well, you're discounting the utility of their models, which are, these are Peter Thiel's company. He's messing around.
Yeah, well, like he's not messing around, but it's not the utility of the company. Like the utility of the model, it is the use case of the model.
What's the difference?
The use case of the model is Palantir works a lot for state entities, police, and other areas.
Like
Yes, and they have protected data, which only Palantir works on, and they put all the models, the mathematical models, to work there. So now we are coming down to, it's not the math, it's the application of the model which becomes important. Mm-hmm. So much about the wrapper question early on. You take a model is a model. What you need to do is put it together in a useful fashion. And Palantir is doing this, and OpenAI, I don't think Sam is on the wrong side of history, because go and ask any chatbot about how to build a gigafactory. He will not get a useful answer because it's complicated. Now go to Elon Musk's team and say, guys, you have done this, help me to build a gigafactory. You will get a good answer. Can an LLM summarize this knowledge? Keep that information in the company, despite maybe people leaving? That's a good thing. I'll give you one more pointer here. Why is California such an innovative place? Because you can go from company to company. We actually put barriers in so that you can protect, like make
You're talking about
non-compete. We don't have allowed non-compete in California, and that has been linked.
It's kind of like the Wild West.
Yes, and that has been linked to innovation, because you drop your pen here, you go over there, and you build the same same idea up there.
Yeah,
that has driven, apparently, so research says, innovation. Now, with LLMs, you can actually still do this, go across companies, but still keep the knowledge within the company. So Elon Musk might have somebody who building a gigafactory. All the documents feed now in AI. That person might go on and build something amazing for the next company, but Tesla will still be able to do it.
I could see that. And when you mention innovation, to me, that's courage plus curiosity. Brian, you must get to see all sorts of really cool companies that are innovating the space. Awesome founders. Any founders you want to give a shout out to here?
Well, I mean, we're working with Alex Holt. He's familiar to Los Gatos. I want to give a shout out to the hometown.
Yeah, for sure.
He's innovating in a space that's very much behind the curve with in the hospitality industry, building some equipment to more efficiently run his restaurants.
Oh, okay.
But,
which is traditionally kind of tricky margins. So it's a good problem to solve.
It is.
Right?
It is with such small margins. It's definitely going to be a fast-growing company.
Yeah.
But I feel like I cannonballed you guys' show here.
I'm so glad you did. It's always anytime. Although it's been a pretty fascinating conversation. Unfortunately, we got like 4 minutes left in this bad boy, but we should definitely do like a round 2 here. We also got like the gray shirt memo. That's a great shirt.
Everybody gray shirt. Yeah.
So just to catch up a little bit, Lutz was on the show with GABA, the German American Business Association, and that was a really cool one. And it's so crazy to me to think how much has changed even in the past couple of months. That we had the Senate bill, not 1041, maybe it was, right?
Well, essentially, what has changed is, I think, in very broad strokes, we are realizing more and more that application of AI is the thing which we need to focus on in terms of allowing companies to innovate, building applications, and that works in Europe as well as here, because there was a kind of a wake-up call for whatever reason. Like people in the industry weren't so surprised about DeepSeek, and we could actually, the surprising part were all the innovations they did, but they did it a year ago, and they had to do it because the administration stopped them from getting access to high-power chips. But that's still
there's folks are saying that they might have gotten them from Singapore anyways. But
no, but if you look at all the design choices they did, all the design choices point towards they are working with lower power chips. And when people saying, they were cheating, they were using maybe OpenAI to train. So did Alpaca on Llama and all of this.
They're all using each other. It's all very incestuous.
And by the way, Sam Altman used us, and probably tomorrow. Probably you put this live, and tomorrow some bot crawls the show, and they learned what I said.
I hope they do.
And
then the bot will be smarter for it.
Yes, and then the bot will talk about me. So you got copied, man.
Yeah, and maybe it'll get back to AI boots at some point here. So one thing in the last couple minutes that we've got, Lutz, I really want you to pull apart this concept of the value being at the application layer. The modalities are changing. How we're interacting with these tools and technologies are changing. So what does the future of that look like for us, Lutz?
The future of it will look like that AI, or this large language model. Large language model is nothing than an interface. It's now an easier way for us to interact with computers. It's an easier way for a computer to talk to us. And that will have consequences. It will have consequences in e-commerce. That's the reason why I built this e-commerce company, where you have a way easier way to interact with the web shop. It will have consequences for healthcare. Think about the person who sits in the corner from a doctor who is a scribe. Now we don't need the scribe anymore. A person, you just talk and tell, and the computer writes to it. It will have impact in how we navigate. It will have impact in every single industry in every single step. So the future is now actually not the big ideas of AGI and singularity, everything is changing. No, the future is we have a nice tool and let's put this tool to work.
Yeah, beautifully put. Lutz, who can our zombie community connect you with? What is the title of the individual that ends up adopting your technology?
So if you have a web shop, or if you know somebody who has a web shop, I would love to show them that we can make more money for them, because we bring that web shop into the reality of the new AI. Your web shop will be dynamic, personalized, targeted, on the fly. We give you better search, we give you sales guidance, we give you an ability to make your customers happier than before.
And even if you can convert an extra 2%, let alone like almost 15, then
11,
you're rocking and rolling. It's beautiful stuff. Well, we are at the top of the hour, so I can't believe how quickly this time went by. You're listening to Silicon Zombies Brainwaves on Pirate Cat Radio. That's 92.9 FM in Los Gatos, 101.9 FM in Santa Cruz, KMRT. And if you're feeling generous, head to donate.kpcr.org and chip in for community radio. So awesome! Great to see you, Brian. Lutz, thank you so much, and tune in next week. All right, cheers, everybody.